You know how sometimes you can learn a lesson even in the midst of learning a lesson. Like even while you're still going through the growing pains, you can kind of see the light. Like, oh, okay, I get it. And you'll still feel the pain, but at least you know, like, okay, this is part of the process. I gotta go through this, right? So what I'm learning is that success is not linear. Success isn't linear. It's just not a straight up and you're always increasing and you're always gradually climbing. Even in business, success is not linear, even in business, right? Now, thankfully, my income has increased with my business the longer I've done it. Each year I get a little better and a little better and a little better and get more income and more income and more income. But life, I mean, you watch people on YouTube and you think it's just supposed to it's just supposed to increase by 25% year over year, you know. But I don't know about y'all, man. My success hasn't been that linear. All right. So long story short, in my first 2 or 3 years of my business, well, I should say my first or second season of my business, I needed help to get work done. And I couldn't find anybody to help me, especially like during the growing season. I couldn't find anybody to help me. Guess who my first employee was? Like my first or second employee. I had my nephew helping me for a minute. Then he something happened. I think he moved out of the city or out of the state. He moved out of the city for a while, and then he came back. Then he started working for Walmart, and I was learning stuff, learning how to manage and keep work coming in. So I can't remember who helped me first, but I had my nephew help me in the beginning, and that's another thing. Like I couldn't. It was during COVID, so he didn't really have school like that when he was initially helping me. But then he had school. He had his last year at school, and he started going in person again. So I lost my help, and I couldn't really figure that out. I was only 2 years into business. I wasn't even doing it full time at that time. The second person that helped me in my business, and probably my best employee, my best helper, probably to this day, was my mom, believe it or not. So my mom got out there and she grinded with me while I was still trying to figure things out. She was pushing the mower, grabbing the backpack blower. I'm talking about my mom's, y'all. My mom's was out there getting it out the mud with me. Like, that's how special my mom's was, right? Is and was to me in my business, okay? So she wasn't able to hang for a super long time, but she bust down a whole spring and summer with me one year and really got it in. But then she was like, all right, this is, she thugged it out with me, and then was like, okay, it's a little too physical for me, and I just was appreciative of what she was able to do and was able to help. Now, very appreciative. And sometimes even my sister, I got 3 sisters, and like one or 2 of my sisters would jump out there and help me as well. So, when I couldn't find a man to really help me, or a boy, right? Mom was holding it down, and my sisters helped me out a little too. So last year, though, at the beginning of the last year, my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was still pretty, seemed pretty healthy at the time, and we're pretty hopeful that she was gonna beat it. So we're not type of people to worry, ahead of time. But it increased pretty fast. Her breast cancer spread pretty quick. So we're talking about, by the time spring came around, my mom was she was like not able to walk or move or even talk. The breast cancer had spread to her brain, and she couldn't do anything. All right, so she started living with me like maybe in February. Now, last year, I did, just right under like around 90,000 in my business. So this year I was hoping to like really get it. I was like, man, if I can do between 100 and 120,000, I'll be great. I just wanted to increase like 20% year over year, and I was really going. I got all my flyers ready. I was just ready to hit the ground running, coming off of the winter. But man, dealing with mom's issue and her cancer spreading that quick, and her coming to live with me, and not only did she come to live with me, like my two of my sisters came to live with me to help take care of my mom during the day, so she would always have someone with her to take her to her chemo. And then basically she ended up passing. She was diagnosed in January. She really couldn't move or talk by the time February, spring hit, March, and then she passed in July, right? So 6 months from diagnosis to, is that right? About 6 or 7 months from being diagnosed to the time she passed. So it was happening quick, and she was being rushed in and out of the hospital. My sisters at the time, they didn't have a vehicle, so I was having to like shut down early, run home for emergencies, take her to hospital, take her to doctor's appointments, take her to chemo, helping her get into a lawn care truck, because this is my primary vehicle and my business vehicle. Now, I'm not trying to make a boo-hoo moment, but I'm just trying to say I wasn't expecting that, right? Never in a million years was I expecting someone like my mom, who was so healthy, like she was busting out yards, a year or two prior. Like a man, she was busting out yards. My mom was, she'd get out there and get it. She was when she was healthy, she was, get out there and get it with me. So in her 50s, right? Or maybe even, 50. Or how old was my mom? She was like 50s, almost 60s, like early 60s, I think. I forget. She was born in 63. So she was like 60 years old, man, busting out. But you would never know. My mom was active and young. So long story short, the point of this video is to say you don't know what curveballs life, we talk about business, but once you're an entrepreneur or you got your own business, life affects your business. When you're an employee, you might have to step away to handle something. It affects you in all ways, even when you're employed. But when you can rely on a job, you can take things like sick leave or family leave and stuff like that, and your paycheck is kind of consistent. But in business, it really affects you. If you're not present mentally or physically, it'll really affect the trajectory of your business. All right, so that was something I had to deal with last year. And then no. See, I messed up. The year prior, I forgot what I made the year prior. But regardless, last year I ended up doing about 90,000, right? But I wanted to do 120,000, but dealing with everything, and that's not my only excuse. Like, I could have did better, even personally. Like, nothing to do with moms. I could have did a lot better, but I didn't. All right. Going into this year, though, I'm thinking, okay, that's behind me. Mom's passed, dealt with that, laid her to rest, funeral, all that. This year, I'm thinking it's a clean slate. But some other things changed in my life where it kind of changed up how my schedule was going to be as well. So you just never know. I don't have as much free time as I thought I was gonna. I don't have as much time to put into my business as I thought I would have, and it was a personal decision of mine. No, nothing was forced on me, but I decided to take my youngest son out of daycare And instead of having my wife like quit her job or work part-time, which really wasn't an option for her, you know, I'm like, all right, I have a business. I can be flexible, even though I want to be 10 toes down and 100% in my business. Right now, it's just better for me to, you know, keep my child, you know, half of the day. So I kind of start my day with my child, and I don't really get to work until, I don't really go out and start busting out lawns until like midday, like till noon. So with that, because it's such a short day, I still have employees, or not employees, like I got helpers, right? I got a few helpers now that I kind of rotate and that will help me out, and they'll come in around like noon to help me bust out as many lawns as possible before it gets dark. So that's a lot of money that I have to spend just to have help with me, that I could be busting these lawns out by myself. So that's one thing I didn't expect to happen, and it's another thing that slowed me down. Even without that, I've had an injury that has been plaguing me for about 2 years, you know, just from going so hard every day, push mowing, you know, that's kind of slowed me down as well and caused me to have to seek more help. And, you know, so business is not linear. Success is not linear. I still have all the hope and faith that I will be successful in this business, but I'm just growing to understand it's like, it's not going to be a straight shot. You know, it's not a straight incline, and, you know, there's going to be bumps in the road. So I just kind of got to, you know, roll with the punches as they come. You know, I kind of expect it now. What's another one that kind of slowed me down this year? I think that's pretty much it. You know, I'm not making a pity party, but I'm just trying to be honest. Like, so who knows what next year holds, right? You know, who knows if it's going to be what the next 5 years, 10 years hold, or my next business that I start or whatever. You never know. So now I'm just in a mind state of knowing, as long as I continue and try to progress as much as possible, you know, that's the name of the game for me. Because, you know, my life likes to throw curveballs at me that I really can't prepare for. All I can do is try my best to be successful, and, you know, in spite of myself and my shortcomings, and regardless of what the Lord, you know, throws at me or tests me with. I'm still grateful. All right, finna bust out this lawn.